So you finally decided that you're going to apply to Psych NP school. And now you're trying to figure out which school to apply to and ultimately choose. With so many different programs out there and so many different programs to choose from, it's hard to narrow down to just one school. But luckily, I'm here to help you. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things to look for when choosing your Psych NP program. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, LifeofaPsychNP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty, the Psych NP, and in this channel, I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, and topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much with the YouTube algorithm, and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're making the next step in the process of going to Psych NP school. And first of all, congrats. I know this decision wasn't an easy one, but I'm glad that you made the decision. And now that you're trying to make the decision, you're trying to figure out which program to go to. And ultimately, the first decision is trying to go to a program that's going to be an MSN versus DNP. A lot of my tips are going to be based around choosing a specific program, not based off of the MSN or DNP, which is a huge thing. But once you kind of narrow down whether you're going to go the MSN route or the DNP route, then you could utilize these tips to kind of help you out. So once you're starting to apply to these programs, there's certain things that obviously you have to take into consideration, and not one program is built the exact same way. Even if they're part of, say for example, the Cal State systems, Cal State LA versus Cal State Long Beach versus Cal State San Marcos versus other Cal States, they're going to be entirely different, and you have to understand that there's differences among each program. And it's difficult. I know it's very, very difficult, but I wanted to shed light on certain things that I looked for, especially when choosing a program, or I tell students or prospective students to look for when choosing their program. And so that's why I wanted to make this video. So without further ado, let's go over the 5 things that I look for when applying to a Psych NP program. So let's go. So the very first thing that I would look for when applying to a Psych NP program is the reputation amongst the psych community. So this is extremely important, especially in the restricted states or the limited states, because you're always going to either have a collaborative physician or you're going to have a supervising physician. And the reason why I say this is important because the perception or the people that are going to be hiring you, they're understanding what the reputation is like amongst the community for that particular program. If they feel like it's a program that's just constantly pushing out students or a diploma mill, then a lot of the times they're not going to look for you or look to hire you because of that. When it comes to independent states, maybe it doesn't really matter as much, especially if you're going to be starting your own practice. But even if you're going to be working for someone in an independent state, it matters a lot where you're going to go, because that reputation is huge. Because if you're known for those programs that just push out students, or they put you in a situation for clinicals where all you're doing is shadowing, and they know that, then more than likely it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get hired. So that's definitely something you have to kind of think about, because reputation is huge, because our psych community is extremely small and tight-knit, so they're going to hear everything. And if they find a wind of a school just pushing out students and not really giving quality information or education, the likelihood of them hiring is going to be a lot lower compared to a reputable school that's known amongst the community of giving good education, providing them good clinical placement, and providing all of these things in place. Then likelihood of you getting hired there is going to be a lot higher because of the reputation of the school. So the second thing that I would look for when choosing a Psych NP program is the amount of hours that they will have for clinicals. And when I say hours, it can be either a lot of hours or the bare minimum. And depending on you, you have to look at that. Personally, for me, I would probably want to get more hours just so I can get more experience. But some people are working, they have families, and they need to get the bare minimum. So definitely when choosing a program, determine which is going to be best for you. But if you want to go a step above that, then I would definitely look into a place where you can see the hours and how they're allocated. Like see their curriculum. Or so for example, oh, they're going to have children and adolescents, but med management or children and adolescents therapy, or this is strictly psychotherapy, this is strictly groups, or this is strictly med management. And you want to be able to see the amount of hours and how they're allocated so you can tailor it to you. The reason why I say this is because some people don't want to do therapy, and some people don't care for med management and they want to do primarily therapy. And depending on your lifestyle and what you want to do ultimately at the end of the day, you want to be able to look at those hours, because not many places are hiring places for just med management and not doing therapy, or not many, or actually more places are hiring for that but not necessarily hiring for therapy. But if you can get into a program that has a lot of preceptors that will do therapy, maybe that's going to be a better learning experience for you in the long run. So you have to understand the amount of clinical hours. It's not just the pure hours alone, but more so how they allocate the hours, and you're going to have a good understanding of which programs are going to be better for you based off of hours and how they allocate those hours. So the third thing that I would look for when choosing a PsychNP program is clinical placement. So when it comes to clinical placement, there are two main schools. So there's a school where they provide you the clinicals and they just be able to, okay, here, give me your preferred locations that you want to work in, specialties, subspecialties you want to work in, and here's a list of people and they're going to interview you. Or there's another side of things where here's a list of clinical placements. You need to reach out to them and see if they'll take you on, or you have to look entirely by yourself to find your own clinical placement. And this is a huge thing, especially in the community. There's so many different schools out there that are popping up where they're like, hey, you just need to find your own clinical placement. And that's just going to be another added stressor onto your life, because finding clinicals isn't easy. And if you want to find a clinical placement relatively easier, you can pay, but that's still not even a guarantee that you're going to get the clinical placement in the first place. So this is a huge thing. Luckily for me, I was in a school that provided clinical placement, and a lot of people that I've worked at, especially in California, their schools provided you that. But more and more schools are popping up where they're like, hey, you need to find your own, or hey, you need to pay for your own. Hey, you need to, here's a list of list of our old alumni, go towards that route and see if you can get a clinical placement. And sometimes it sucks, and that's the nature of it. And I know there are a lot of programs now that are pushing towards that you need to find your own clinical placements, but there are a few hidden gems out there where they find it for you. So if you can go into opportunity or a school program that provides you with one, definitely lean that way, because you don't want to go through the whole program already stressed out about the curriculum and the work, and now stressed out about clinicals, but now figuring out, okay, how am I even going to get a clinical placement in the first place, or a preceptor in the first place? And now that just causes more stress, and you don't want to add too much stress onto your plate, because it's going to get difficult. And I'm not saying PsychNP school is extremely hard, but you don't want to add on something else that's going to cause you stress and ultimately impact your performance. And I've had issues where people are closer towards the end of their program and they can't find that clinical placement, and now they have to wait a whole year because they couldn't find a preceptor or couldn't get enough hours in time, and had to go back with a next cohort in order for them to graduate, because that's when they found the clinical placement. So it's craziness. So if you can do anything to avoid that, definitely make sure you find this program with clinical placement, or at least have a good set of tools to help you do so. Which brings me up to the fourth thing that I would look for when choosing a PsychNP program, which is Alumni Network. So the reason why I bring up Alumni Network is because that's going to kind of help with number 3. If they have a good alumni network, an alumni network that's pretty close-knit and that you'll be able to have access to, then the likelihood of you being able to find a preceptor is going to increase. And just having an alumni network, not only for preceptorship, but to be able to network and get a job, is going to be huge. So if you can go into a program that has a good sized alumni network that you're going to have accessibility to, it's going to help you in the long run. Like one with preceptorship, 2 with job placement, but maybe the ins and outs of being a new grad, or ins and outs of being a student in clinical settings. And it's just going to help throughout, because the more you network with people, the more accessibility you have to new grads and experienced NPs, it's just going to help you out that much further, especially in the long run. So definitely think about attending a program that has a good alumni network. So the fifth and final thing that I would look for when choosing a PsychNP program is the ANCC board certification pass rate. And this is an important one. You don't want to go to a program that's not going to have you built or help you succeed in passing. If you're looking at their rates and they're very suboptimal, then you might want to look the other way. But if you're looking at a school that has high passing rates, especially the very first time, then maybe that's a program you want to go to. And the reason why I say look at these rates, yes, you can study on your own and be able to do that, but why add more studying to the plate when you're already studying for the program? Why don't you go to a program that's going to be able to help build their curriculum out, that's going to help transition into passing the test, so you don't have to add more and more studying to it? Because there's a lot of programs out there that just put a basic bare bones program, but they expect you to study 110% of everything else in order for you to pass. But there's other programs out there, especially with a higher pass rate, the first time takers, where they build that testing into the curriculum. So the program that I went to, our whole class passed the first time. So how they did it was they built in the Barclays or built in Fitzgerald and actually the ANA test bank into the actual program itself. So every single class we were taking and studying for it, and they geared each test mimic those styles. So by the time we graduated, we were all able to take it and not have to take like a full blown out course just to pass. We were able just to pass with just our curriculum alone. And I think that was amazing, especially how they set it up. You don't want to go to a program where you're just doing freaking all these boards or just talking on like Beach or Blackboard and like, oh, responding to these posts, and you're not necessarily learning that way. You go to a program where they implement it into the curriculum, so by the time you get out, it's not like you have to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months because studying for boards. It's like, oh, okay, here, study one for 1 or 2 months and boom, you'll pass. A lot of my students that went to these well-known programs and programs that implement it or implement the curriculum, implement the board certification test questions into the curriculum, they passed the very first time, and some of them haven't even had graduated and they've just barely finished their program. They got the okay to take the test and they passed. And it just shows you how much going to a certain program will do for you, especially if you want to start off sooner rather than later. So it's definitely something to think about. Obviously, these tips aren't going to apply to everyone, but I'm going to try to I made it as broad as possible to be able to look into these things and kind of think, okay, maybe this is going to be helpful, maybe this isn't going to be helpful, maybe this is going to be helpful. So ultimately it's going to come down to you and what you want to get into. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether you want to choose certain schools or not, if you just go into a program, you're still going to be licensed, you're still going to have all these things. It's just a matter of how is it going to make it easier for you in the long run? Because you can go to the bottom tier school and still pass, but at the end of the day, me and you are board certified, so it doesn't really matter at that point, right? So, but if you want to be put in a situation to succeed, then definitely take a look at these tips and implement these tips when choosing your school. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's more of a rant, but I figured I want to expand on all of these things. I can just list it for you, but if I don't expand on it, you're not going to necessarily think about it further. So I wanted to give you more time in expanding it just so you can think about it and fully implement it when choosing your program. And if you're choosing programs, definitely comment down below on what programs you want to choose. Maybe I have some idea on those programs, maybe I don't, but if I can comment or anything, please leave your questions down below and I'll be more than welcome to help you out. And as always, have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye!